And welcome, Destiny Christian Church. This is today's Devo, 5-minute Devo, and we're going to talk today about the idea that real faith or genuine faith encompasses things that are out of our control. And this is in contrast to the extreme faith teachings that say that if you don't get absolutely everything you prayed for, something's wrong with your faith. That is not scriptural. It is not healthy. It doesn't invite process. It doesn't allow God to come in and say no to you when he wants to say no. And one of the most convincing scriptures to me, when you think about it, are the words of Jesus, where he said, my God, why have you forsaken me?" And Jesus said these words on the cross. And imagine the Son of God himself, if he said this, does that mean he didn't have enough faith, that God will redeem him? And there are other scriptures that I'll give you another one later, but God is never afraid of our wrestling with him. He's never afraid of us disagreeing with him or having doubts about what he said or why he said it or to whom and when and all these things. And we find that often there's so much emphasis, especially in the extreme word of faith movement, which I've never really agreed with that whole thing that if you're not rich, you don't have enough faith, and that God owes you $1 million and fancy cars and all these things, and his sole goal is for you to prosper. And yes, there is a word flourishing in the scriptures, but flourishing it's more than just physical or financial prosperity. But maybe he wants you to prosper spiritually. Maybe he wants you to prosper by knowing him through persecution, or prosper by knowing him in the struggle. And so I want you to think about Jeremiah, the weeping prophet he was called. And so think about it. He wasn't full of joy. And when I think of the extreme faith teachings, and I'm a huge fan of Kenneth Hagin. He had great teachings, I think, phenomenal stuff. But I think some of his students maybe took some things to the extreme. But I think of places like Calcutta. How does that extreme faith teaching work out in Calcutta? How does that extreme faith teaching work out for Jeremiah, right? Who's the weeping prophet? He wrestled with believing in God's character, and yet voicing his lament at the same time over his pain. In other words, he was torn between, Lord, do I believe you? Do I trust you? But at the same time, I'm struggling so much. Why should I trust you? That kind of thing. And the scripture that I'm thinking of is Jeremiah 15, that goes something like this. Why is my pain unceasing, my wound incurable, refusing to be healed? Truly, you are to me like a deceitful brook, like waters that fail. I mean, if that's not confrontational with God, I don't know what is. But I want you to think about that for a minute, that real faith invites process, it invites controversy, it invites a wrestling with God, it invites disagreeing with God, getting in his face. Why do you think that almost 2/3 of the Psalms are called lament Psalms? Meaning that something is wrong with creation, something is wrong in the world. And I'm saying, God, make it right. This is messed up. My enemies are after me. People are slandering me. People are hurting me. These have nothing to do with my mechanics of faith. This is life. This is a broken world. And whether or not I'm going to trust in God's character in that broken world. So God says it's okay to pour out your heart to him. It's okay to wrestle with him and even protest before him while holding on by faith to his character. Let me read that Jeremiah verse again to you. He says, why is my pain unceasing, my wound incurable, refusing to be healed? Truly, you are to me like a deceitful brook, like waters that fail. So he's complaining to God, right? And he's saying that, God, should I believe you? Should I really trust you? Now, when you read later on, Jeremiah, he restores his faith in God, right? And when you read lament psalms part of the definition of them is that they begin in lament, but they end with hope. They end with trusting God and saying, I'm going to hold on to God, even though I don't get him right now. And the book of Job is an example of this. And I'm going to close in a minute here, but after what seemed like an endless chapters of whining and complaining when you read Job, where he just whines about God, if I could just see God and present my cause, right? God shuts everything down, and he shuts Job's mouth and says, who is this speaking with words without wisdom and the whole thing. Then after he's done rebuking Job, he turns to his friends and he says this. He says, you didn't speak rightly of me, but Job did. Job spoke rightly of me. I want you to think about this for a minute. If you read what Job said, he's basically charging God. He's basically challenging God. He's basically telling God, you don't love me, you don't care about me, and all these things. And God says, you spoke rightly of me. What's he missing there? I believe that even though Job was struggling, he was practicing the lament, the Hebrew lament, which is pain and protest. Pain in protest, but also hope. And all lament psalms have these. And you find these in the scriptures, that people wrestle with God, they get angry with God, but they also hope in God. And this implied that even though Job was not perfect, he spoke rightly of God, even though he was angry at God. Think about that. What does that mean to you today? Does your faith encompass this idea? Does it encompass a world that is out of control? Then say, you know what? I don't get it. I can't fix everything, but I'm going to trust God. And like Jesus, say, Lord, into your hands I commit my spirit, right? So till next time, check out the website, destinychristianniagara.com. Check out our YouTube channel. All these are uploaded on YouTube along with sermons, great sermons by Pastor Karen and Lori and special speakers and things like that. And we also upload all that stuff on Facebook also. So great to be with you. God bless.